Hey guys, CG here. In this video, I'm going to teach you how to create a system that will count player items to see if they have enough to buy or sell. It will never cheat the player, and there's no way for the player to cheat the system. So that's hugely important. In this case, this system is fine-tuned to check for 64 diamonds. If you have 64 diamonds, you'll get the money. So I'm going to toss one diamond, so I only have 63 diamonds on me. When I run the system, it's going to count up my diamonds, see if I have enough, and if not, it's going to give me all my diamonds right back. It's flawlessly accurate. I spent a lot of time making sure of that. And if you don't have any diamonds on you, then this is what happens. You don't have any diamonds. Okay. So we're going to handle both those cases. And of course, if you have 64 or more diamonds, it will execute as you would expect. And it doesn't even have to be capped at 64. You could actually check for any number you want. You can check for 100, 200, 700, whatever. You're only limited by how many items can be held in your inventory, honestly. Okay, so now that I have 64 and run it, this is what happens. Of course, it ran successfully, as we expect. So I'm going to go over the system as quickly as possible, and as you can see, ignoring the background over there, there's actually a lot to go through. So I'm going to go through very quick. If you need to pause, then please pause. You will need to do that from time to time. Okay. So first, let's go over the scoreboards. You need scoreboards to govern the system to make it as smart as possible. So firstly, we need to add a money system if you don't already have that. All of these commands can be entered right into chat, so enter this right into your chat. So I've called my money system credits, but you don't have to. You can call it cash, dollars, whatever you want, and you don't even have to have it colored. If you want, you can have it colored, but this is what it would look like when it displays. Okay, and if you don't know how to do color text, just Google colored text in Minecraft. And now this is how we display our money scoreboard. So already now you've just made a money system. As simple as that. Those two commands, you have a money system. Now we need to create a scoreboard for every single item that we intend on counting. So here's an example of what one that you would count emeralds might look like. And this system is counting diamonds, so here's what we're using in this system. Diamond count. Now you should name the thing something that makes sense so it's easy to read back when you read the code. So if you're going to count apples, I would suggest apple count. Okay, and now we need to create a scoreboard called sell values, or anything you want, but I think sell values is a good one, where we're going to store the values for any item that we're selling anywhere in our world. Okay, so what we're going to do is, in this example, I'm going to assign a value for emerald and then a value for diamonds. So right here, what this is actually saying is we're going to create an imaginary player whose name is emerald value. This is the name of the imaginary player, and we are setting their score, their value, inside sell values to 20, which this basically means that now we're saying emeralds are going to be worth 20 credits. So we're going to do the same thing to diamonds. So diamond value is what we're going to give this imaginary player's name, and then we're going to set that value of diamonds to 100. So if you were going to add apples, then you would say apple value, and then pick whatever one number you want to be that value. Give me anything. But we can store all of these different items, as many as you want, into the sell value scoreboard. And later on, we're going to use math to basically compute between these scoreboards and figure out the appropriate money that you should be getting based on the value and how many you have. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. So now we have these two chains in the very beginning of the system. This chain right here will execute if you do have diamonds. So if you do have diamonds, this will rise up and start the system. And if you don't have any diamonds on you, this negative chain will start, and this is a negative feedback loop. Okay, so basically once you power the system with the button, power passes through the comparator and into this block. And here's the code for this block. Clear IP, blah, blah. And this is actually not going to get rid of any diamonds. The 0 means that it will check to see if you have diamonds. If you want to check to see if the player had apples, you would put apple in here. If you want to check to see if they have emerald, put emerald. So whatever item that you're checking for, you have to put it in here. This is one of those blocks you have to change anytime you build a system and you're checking for something different. So if they do have diamonds on them, this code will emit a positive test result, successful result. And when that happens, it will rise up the chain. And this will be activated. This will turn on when that's the case. So this comparator is actually very important because it notifies the rest of the system whether or not you have diamonds or not. So if you don't have diamonds, if I press it now, for example, this turned off immediately, because this will turn off whenever the block that it's facing away from has failed. So basically this will remain powered for the entire duration the block was previously successful, and the second it fails, it will turn off. The reason that's important is you need to take the coordinates for this block and plug it into this block over here. So here's the command here, plug that exact location, the coordinates for that comparator, into this spot right here. And basically if it detects that that block is in fact unpowered, then this chain, the negative chain, will run. Okay, so basically when this power comes through, there's a repeater right here that's on a slight tick delay of 2. So normally that's 1 by default. We want it on 2 like that. You need to have it on 2 or it won't work properly. So what happens is it gives the system enough time to check if this is off, which means you don't have diamonds. And if you don't have diamonds, then this will execute. So let's go over the negative and then we'll go over to positive. Okay, so if you don't have diamonds and it says, okay, yep, this is unpowered, then these commands will execute. Again, make sure that you have to get all these fields correct. If it's conditional, unconditional, that's important. If you mess that up, the whole system will break. And basically conditional means that the block before it had to be successful in order for this one to run. If you have it set to unconditional anywhere when it's not supposed to be, it will break the system, and that's exactly why it's not working. So again, make sure that's the case, always active. So chain blocks are almost always chain conditional, always active, these green ones. These impulse blocks are almost always impulse unconditional, needs redstone, and these repeating blocks are almost always repeat unconditional, needs redstone. Okay, so here's the rest of the commands. We got the comparator check, and then here's the message for the player if they don't have any diamonds. You don't have to use red text. You can just use any color, or you can Google how to do colors in Minecraft. Here we're going to play a negative sound at the player. And then here we're going to remove the check me tag if the player has check me. And this is basically a failsafe that I built into the system in case the player disconnects. They can use this to reuse the system, and I'll show you that later. Okay, now for this system, here's a positive chain. So this will check, do you have any diamonds? They do have diamonds. If they do, then it will add the new tag to them. Again, take note of these. So it will add the tag to them, check me. And now for the rest of the system will target that exact player who activated the system with the tag check me. Now we're going to start the system. So we're going to put a redstone block at a certain location. And then at the same time, and I'll show you that in a moment, and then we're going to also set this location to air, which is the comparator. So this comparator right here, get that location, get the coordinates for that block, and plug it right into here. And if you don't know how to get coordinates really quickly, you can look at a block and type /fill, and then in the bottom left, that number is actually the block you're looking at. So 7, 4, 31, that's the coordinates for that exact block. So that's a way to get it really quickly. I'm going to get a red wool block and pretend it's a redstone block just to show you. So eventually you're gonna end up powering these locations. So I'm going to show you that. So when we start the system, I'm going to get rid of this for now. This coordinate right here is this coordinate down here. So make sure that this corresponds to this block. Okay. Okay. So at this point, this will be started, and this safety basically turns this block to air when the system is started, so that there's no block here. The reason we do that is so no other player can activate the system while the system is currently in use and mess it up and make it inaccurate, because it will be like testing 2 players with the same tag at that point, and it could give the wrong player the money or something, or it could do something wrong. So we don't want that. We want to limit any sort of issue that we could possibly have. So basically, by disabling the button, the system can't be messed up by another player. So now the system is currently running, and what would happen is these 2 right here are going to be your counting mechanism. They're going to go back and forth and clear diamonds. Here's the command, copy it down. And every time it takes 1 diamond away, it's going to add 1 diamond count to your counting scoreboard. And it can't go beyond this block right here, this block, because this block has diamond count equals 64. So only when diamond count, that's only when it has counted 64 diamonds can this block execute, and then all the blocks after it can execute. So this block is basically creating a conditional out of these two blocks, saying keep on running these two blocks until this one reaches a value of 64. And if this doesn't, then keep on running these two blocks. So that's how we get to count up all your diamonds without progressing forward and messing up. Okay, that's critical. So if you want to check for 100 diamonds, you can put 100 here. If you want to put 120, whatever, 300. If you want to check for 20, you can do that. If you want to sell something, if you want to use eggs, you can have egg count of 20 for all I care. It was whatever you want. So this set block right here, this location is right here. So basically, once it determines that you do have the amount that you're checking for, then you can turn the system off. So get rid of this redstone block. That's what that is, turning that back to air. So plug that location into there. Okay, here we're going to do some math. So we're going to take the diamond count that we counted up. Say we counted 10 diamonds. Say it was 10 diamonds. We're going to say, okay, multiply equals. So what that means is it's going to do the math, and it's going to store the data back into the first scoreboard. So it's going to say, basically say we had 10 diamonds. It's going to say 10 diamonds times the value of diamonds that we've established in cell values, which is 100. So 10 times 100 is 1,000. So store that result, 1,000, into diamond count. That's what times multiply equals means. Store it into the first one. So basically what will happen is our diamond count will no longer have the count of, say, 10 diamonds, but it will now have the multiplied value of 10 diamonds times 100 value, which is 1,000. So it'll now have 1,000 in there instead. Okay, so it's important you understand that. And again, this is one of when you build a system, if you're going to build it for emeralds or apples or whatever, you need to make sure that you're changing these names throughout the system to reflect what they are named in your system. Okay, now this scoreboard, this command right here is going to do some more scoreboard math, and it's going to check the player, basically the player using the system, and it's going to take their money and add the diamond count that we just did math for into it. So if I, in the example of 10, and 10 times 100 is 1,000, this would be 1,000, and it would say, okay, add that value, 1,000, from diamond count into money. So then that player's money will have their diamond count that has been multiplied to reflect the value that it holds. It will add that into their money value. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. And now we're going to just play a sold message to the player. That way they get that positive feedback loop. That's rewarding and it feels good. We're going to play a positive sound at the player. Again, positive, feels good. Now we're going to set their diamond count to 0 because it still has the multiplied value stored in it. We don't want that anymore. We need to set that back to 0. So, whatever you can change, make sure again, apple count, diamond count, egg count, emerald count, whatever, turn it back to 0. Now we're done targeting players, so we're going to remove the check me tag. And finally, we need to clone this block above back to the beginning. So we're going to need to clone this comparator back to the beginning so the system is ready to be used next time. So these tildes are confusing. This is X, Y, and Z. Twice, X, Y, and Z. Again, this one is at the Y value on both. So it's basically saying clone the block right above this command block into this location. So this location right here has to be the location of the comparator at the beginning of the system. So this one over here. Okay, so that's great. So if you did not have enough, basically as the system is running and it's removing diamonds from you, the entire time it can do that, this is powered on because it's successfully executing. So this is powered on, this is disabled. As soon as it can no longer remove diamonds from you and you have no more diamonds, clearly you're not going to get to 64 at that point. So once that happens, this will turn off, and then this will turn on, and then these two blocks will run. So what this block is doing right here is setting a certain coordinate to air. That coordinate is here. So if once this turns on, this will turn to air like that. That will turn to air. So make sure you plug in that redstone location. Then it will turn on the top row, because now the top row needs to run and give the player the items back. So here you're going to plug in the coordinate for the top row, which is right here. You want to put the redstone block right there. And basically, if you haven't gotten this already, the bottom row handles if you or have 64 diamonds or what the number you're looking for, and it executes successfully, the top row will handle giving those items back to you if you did not have enough. So now that we technically have this powered, if it was giving the player back the items, we would run this command, and basically that's going to -1 from their diamond count. So if it had 20 diamonds, it's going to now be 19, and at that point, it's going to then give them back 1 real diamond in return for that. So every time it minuses 1 count from their scoreboard, it's going to give them back a diamond to reflect that. Now this, again, the third, just like down here, but a third one was special, this third block is special because it has a code that basically forces a conditional where it says this block cannot execute and nothing after can execute until the diamond count equals 0. And the reason that's important is because that will force these 2 blocks that are still powered to basically go back and forth. -1 from the count, give the player back 1 more diamond. -1 from the count, give the player back another diamond. And we'll do that over and over and over and over until the count equals 0, and then the rest of this chain can execute. And that means that you've gotten all of your items back without question. So it will not cheat you, I promise you. So here's the command, and we can give that negative message now because they didn't have enough diamonds to successfully execute the system properly. Now we can play negative sound at the player. Now we can remove the check me tag because it's no longer needed. Now we can set an air block back to the beginning of this chain, turning off the upper row, so we can get rid of this with that. So plug in that coordinate. And finally, we can reset the system, same exact code as below. Additionally, over here, this little system is needed in case you end up having a situation where you have only 1 diamond when you go to activate the system. You actually need this little exception in place for if the player has 1 item that they're checking for, otherwise it will break the system. So basically, you need a full tick delay redstone repeater right here, and then this block right here, this redstone. This impulse block has a 10 tick delay. This is one of the only blocks in the system that has a delay in the block itself. So you have a full tick delay repeater with a impulse block with 10 ticks of delay. And here's the code. So what this is doing is if the player is found to have 1 diamond in their count after this long delay, when it should have had time to count many diamonds, that is proof that the player only ever had 1 diamond. So once that's true, set this block, this location, which is right here, to air. So turn off the whole bottom chain. Turn it off. That's what that's doing. So again, this is 4 ticks of delay, this repeater, and then this is 10 ticks of delay inside itself. Don't forget that. That's important, or it could break. It might not work properly. It will probably mess up. At least it did in my testing, so that's why that was needed. Again, here, we're going to activate the top row to then give the player back their diamonds. In this case, they're 1 single diamond. So now, again, plug in the upper row spot for where you're going to make that redstone block appear, which, again, is right here. So find the value in your world and plug that in there. So this kind of acts similar to this, only they're both entirely necessary and nothing is extra about that. Okay, now this over here, this is a system that will basically intelligently handle a player disconnecting in the middle of using the system. So here is another block that we're going to have on a tick delay, simply because this block is not important to be critically, it doesn't matter if it's running really quick and you don't need to tax your server with it, where this block will always be running. So just have this on a delay of 20, which is actually 1 whole second. So it runs once every second. So basically, once it realizes that there's no player with the tag check me, which is a player using the system, once there's no longer a player who matches that tag, this comparator will turn off, this torch will turn back on, and then this chain will execute. All of these blocks right here, unlike all the other blocks, these are all chain unconditional, except this is an impulse unconditional. So this is unconditional, always active. These are all chain unconditional, always active. Okay, so make sure you get that right. This is just going to reset. So here we have 2 air blocks, 2 different locations. All you're going to do is plug in the 2 different spots that we had redstone blocks into these 2 blocks. It doesn't matter which order you choose, either order is fine. But basically, we don't know at what point the player disconnected, so we need to set both those locations back to air just in case. So that's what that is. So once you've done that with those 2, again, chain unconditional, always active for this whole top row, this whole special row, We may as well attempt to remove the check me tag from anyone in case they rejoin in that exact moment or something, which is highly unlikely because that would happen so quick. And now we need to reset the system and clone this back to the beginning so the system's ready for the next player. I'll show you that in practice. And here's what you would do if you want to use the system for buying instead of selling. So right now this system is set up to sell, but how would you buy? Well, that's very simple, and I'm going to show you that. So this is actually very much like this system, only I changed like 1 or 2 blocks. So all you would do is copy these blocks right here in place of these ones. So you replace this row with the row that I'm about to show you. This is for buying. So say you didn't want to use a money system where you actually have a scoreboard with your money stored into it, and you wanted to sell something like, say you wanted to be able to buy something with like 64 diamonds for 1 elytra, or 20 eggs for this, or 30 apples for that. Well, this is exactly how you would do that. Again, obviously the point of it is to make sure that the player can't cheat the system and get something unless they have enough, right? So that's the point of all this. So I'm going to go over these commands quickly. Repeat unconditional needs redstone. Here's the command. And I mean, it goes without saying, maybe I should say it, I'm sorry, but if you're going to be checking for apples, you need to change this to apple because you need to remove 1 apple, right? So you have to make sure that you change the item that you're looking for in the code. I can only explain so much, but hopefully that part is clear enough. Okay, so now, so basically after we run this command, these are all chain conditional, always active, back to normal, right? So here's the command. So we're going to basically take 1 diamond away and then add 1 to the count so we can count up the diamonds. And then this air block is again the special sauce, and this is going to be determining what we're counting up towards. So again, if we want to count to 10 diamonds, you can put that a 10 there. Whatever number you put in there is a number that the player has to have in order for the system to execute for either buying or selling. So in this case, the system is going to check to see if they have 64 diamonds in order to buy an elytra. All right. And again, this coordinate, as I said, is the exact same as the other chain behind me. That coordinate right here would turn this block over here back to redstone, back to air. So it's just the same exact thing. But yeah, again, you would obviously move this right into location. So this would be right there. Okay. So now that the player is determined to have enough diamonds that they have 64, they will get the elytra. Here's that. And now we can give them a positive message because it executed successfully. And now we can give them a positive sound. And now we can, again, set their diamond count back to 0. Whatever count you're using, you have to set it back to 0. Gold count, iron count, whatever, back to 0. Now you can remove the check me tag. We're done targeting them. And again, clone the comparator back to the beginning. So, yep, this system is very quick. Like I said, it counts 20 times a second. Very efficient, perfect for multiplayer servers. And lastly, it's very smart. And here's an example of how smart it is. So I'm going to quickly get more diamonds to show you what would happen if I disconnected while the system is in use. I'm going to copy the command that will let me take the tag away from myself. And I'm going to basically emulate the situation that would happen if a player disconnected. So if a player disconnected in the middle of using this, their tag will no longer be detectable, and the system would basically reset like we programmed it to. So watch this. I'm going to enter this so I can try to enter it quickly because it's okay. So I'm going to run this. Okay, so I was able to cancel it, and as you can see, it happened kind of quickly. But the redstone blocks, the system detected I was no longer there, basically emulating what would happen if a player disconnected. So with that tag, the player with the tag disappeared, redstone blocks disappeared, comparator went back to the start, and the system is perfectly reset and ready for next use. So if that player was to reconnect, this is what would happen. They'd have to do this to get it to work again, which I think it works quite nicely. Okay, so I added the tag back to myself. As you can see, this tag right here, tag AP, add, I have check me. So this is just like what would happen if a player reconnected. If a player reconnected, they would still have this tag, and they go to use the system, and they can't use it. Like, oh, what's wrong? Like, why can't? Is it broken? It's broken for me. I can't use it. Oh my god. It's not. I'll show you what's happening here. So what's happening is it's saying, yeah, he has diamonds. See, it's positive. It's on, but it's getting to this add check me tag. But I still have the check me tag because I got disconnected, and I still have it because it can't remove it from me when I'm not here. So I came back and still have the tag, so it can't give me the tag, and it's failing, and now the system cannot activate because of that. So what we can do to fix that is basically drop our diamonds so that we force this column to run, and up here, switch back to creative for a sec, up here, that's why I have this command block. This is only here for this situation. Okay, so that's only here for if you need to reset the system for yourself so that you can use it if you still have the tag. So in this case, I need to reset the system, so I need to toss my diamonds so that I can force this negative column to run and then run that code. So watch this. You don't have enough diamonds, sure, but it also ran that code, so it took the tag away from me. So now it can properly apply the tag next time. Now it will actually continue where it left off. The system will actually keep count, and everything is accurate. So it didn't lose count. It knows exactly how many diamonds it took from me. Now it can finish. So once it continues, it will end up counting up to the rest of the 64, and it will give me the rest of the money. So check it out. Perfect. See? So the system is incredibly intelligent, and I tried really, really hard to make this. I'm going to show you really quickly, very quickly, because I don't want to be any longer than we have to make this video. I'm going to show you what happens if you use the buying system. Now this is an example of a buying system, same exact thing, only if you made the buying variant that I showed you moments ago. So here we're going to do 32 diamonds for a diamond sword, which I know is awful, but this is just an example. So I'm going to toss one, so I have 31. And now it's going to give me that back because I didn't have enough. If I do have 32 though, and I run it, there we go, I got my diamond sword. So all is working well. So anyway, thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this video. Sorry I was a little long, but I truly hope you understand. Again, I intentionally designed a system so that you only had to change minimal variables in order to get the system fine-tuned for your own server or realm. Basically, again, just to really make sure you understand, this 64 here is the number that determines how many items the system is checking for. So hopefully that's very, very clear to you guys. Thank you so much for taking your time to watch this. Let me know if you have any questions. Let me know if you built this. And of course, if you have, please like, comment, subscribe, all of that. Share if you can. I'd really appreciate it. And that's it. Thanks so much, guys. Have a nice day.